Hey Guillermo, how's it going? We're just getting prepped up here. Boris is also here, it looks like. We're just getting ready for kind of. Let me turn on my not working too hard penguin. We're just getting ready here to look at some job stuff out in the industry, see what kind of stuff's out there. We should probably check on the home lab a little bit, make sure the home lab's doing all the stuff that the home lab should. So that's always a good little check at the beginning of whatever we're doing. Let's exit here. Control R for Ansible. Let's just check all the uptime of our servers while we're kind of hanging out and starting out. And we should probably come over here and just go to like Dice. Go look at Dice. What's on Dice? Linux. Yeah, I want to be a Linux engineer. What kind of jobs, what kind of stuff's going on there? All right. We've had these servers up for 6 days. There are a few users on Rocky 10 and Rocky 7. That's probably acceptable. Let's go check on those real quick. Somebody's been on since Sunday. Somebody's been on since earlier today. Nobody's really doing too much. We'll leave them running. We won't reboot all the nodes. We'll do it before the next work little set of tasks that we have. So we're not in any rush to like keep. I just want to make sure the lab environment's clean. I want to make sure like if a node goes down, I just kind of get it back up and running for people. Looks like somebody rebooted this one, so that's good. You know, I try to keep the environment kind of active for you guys, so that if any of you guys do the course, the Linux course that we have running, you can get in there and do whatever you want. Guillermo, you're welcome on YouTube or Twitch. We're just kind of hanging out either way. I'm not working too hard right now, so just kind of organizing stuff real quick, making sure that everything is set up correctly, and then we'll get going here. It's actually interesting. Yeah, we're fine. All right, let's go look at some stuff. What's going on here? There's a lot of canonical. We always get a lot of canonical stuff here when I look for Linux engineers. Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's look for Linux in a NOC. Let's look for network operations, but with so that would be more of an administrative type role typically. And let's kind of compare that a little bit. Let's look at maybe some of this stuff. Network operations stuff, they want some network engineer type roles, so it looks like there's some stuff going on there. There's a SOC engineer, and they want you to know some Splunk. By the way, I think I've told you guys this before. If you're a veteran in the U.S., Splunk gives you all their training for free. Where do the Killer Coda workloads run? Oh, they run up on Killer Shell, which Kim Woostekamp and those guys run. I don't do any of that kind of, like I don't do any of their maintenance and stuff, but I just write labs up there. All right, so let's go look. NOC analyst night shift. Who wants to do incident work? I mean, it's something to get you in if you're starting, right? What's this job want? We see these same key terms every time we look at one of these. I swear it's like the exact same key terms every time, right? They want you to understand problem analysis and systems monitoring. So we need to know how to troubleshoot. And by the way, do they have the word troubleshoot down here later? No. But problem analysis, there's two parts to problems. There's typically the incident, and then there's the root cause analysis. ANALYSIS, yeah, analysis, RCA, right? And then they want you to know those. And then monitoring is, you know, what to monitor, and how, and then probably as a corollary to that, how to monitor, right? And you're probably, if you're running a network operations center on the night shift, you're probably not the person who's writing this stuff up to you're probably not the person who's building these. You're probably just monitoring things. So you're probably looking at HUDs, which are your heads up display. And that is, you know, that is break fix, or what we might call like a dashboard type monitoring. So typically you have a dashboard that you watch, and you'll just kind of see that stuff. Is that going? That's going off the bottom, but I'm up here working, so I'm not off the bottom of the screen. Typically when we get done with these jobs, by the way, I go and I post these on our Discord, like when we do notes like this. So I typically, you know, we'll post the jobs so you guys at least can go look at it, you know, if you want to. Not everybody wants to go look at it, but all right. So incident, and that is, you know, what is broken. Can I follow a run book to troubleshoot? Can I follow a procedure to troubleshoot or escalate? Right? And some of you guys, do you guys need that a little bigger? I don't know if I can make this font bigger here. Hold on. I can see version, I can see theme, I can see colors. I don't know if I can make this editor. Fine with all that. Nothing advanced. Features, nope. I would think they'd at least have I can go look in here on their configs. No? Alright. Alright, yeah, I don't know. Sorry guys, can't make it bigger. Maybe I can drag it out and it'll be a little bigger, but so, you know, can I follow troubleshoot? And some of you guys, we've looked at how in our Linux Systems Administration course, we spent a lot of time looking at how we write those procedures and where do we get those procedures from. And if we don't know where to go start with those procedures, there's some really good stuff out there with like sans.org. They've got all their list of cheat sheets. And if you wanted to get in here and start with like, hey, what is a server? What do I do if there's something wrong with a server? Well, on the Windows side, I do this stuff on the left. And on the Unix side, I do these things over here. Now, is this an all-exhaustive list of things you might do? No. But this is something that you could leave somebody that's working at night. This was, what was this called? This was a NOC analyst, right? So this job was called NOC, whoops. I guess we can just put it up here. NOC incident night. Wasn't it like night analyst? Analyst. Right? So that's what we were doing here. That's what we were kind of looking at. Hey Morrison, how's it going? I've seen some job adverts that are asking for SIEM experience as well as entry cybersecurity roles. Yeah, SIEM is a big one. SIEM, Security Incident and Event Monitoring. There's some tools out there that you can use in your home labs to get some experience. The big ones that people use are Zeek for free stuff. There's the Zeek network monitoring, and this will dump a lot of information. And then the one that can feed over into typically is called Wazoo. And that can be a security incident and event monitoring, or security information and event monitoring. It can do log analysis, it can do vulnerability detection, it can do, you know, compliance. So you got to adhere to a certain type of PCI DSS, NIST 800-53, which is the risk management framework for all government type activities. Are you dealing with Europe and the GDPR? TSC and SOC 2. TSC, I don't know. SOC 2 is a report. And then Health Insurance Portable Accountability Act or something like that. I don't know. Right? Because it's the health insurance. Yeah, portability, accountability, something. Right? Yeah, so there's, yeah. Here's the thing, right? Like, people want you to be familiar with stuff because they're probably going to dump you in on whatever their tools. They're probably going to drop you in and you're going to learn their way of doing it. They just want you to, yeah, it was, remember that commercial? The there was an old commercial where the guys would call each other and they would just go, "What's up?" And then they would hang up and they would call the next dude down the line. God, that would have been like a late '90s, early 2000s commercial. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was in my teens when that came out. That might have been when I was in the Army even, which I was in the Army during my teens, my late teens. I signed up when I was 17, in fact. But anyway, so we do all this stuff. You know, we figure all this stuff. Hey, Morrison, thanks for the Prime. Yeah, Budweiser, yeah. I remember all those. Those were all fun. But Morrison, I appreciate that. You could use those anywhere you choose to use them here. That's always nice. You were sending. Oh yeah, Z Love. Yeah, I saw you over in Rob's channel the other day, or maybe you raided over, but I'd seen you over there a few times. And Rob was on earlier today. I was kind of hanging out in his stream while I was working. So yeah, I appreciate that, Morrison. Yeah. I don't like play that up too much. I think I have a vet tag or whatever, but you know, I don't. I would help anybody get into Linux world, whether they were a vet or not. Although I would probably, you know, my heart would definitely be with the vet, right? I mean, I try to get everybody into the systems world if I can, but Z-Love, my wife's downstairs right now with all her friends. She's had these friends since beauty school, and that was like almost 30 years ago for them. And I think they meet up like every 2 or 3 months or something, and this night was over here, so they were downstairs, you know, cooking and having fun, and I had to read a story to them. It was kind of funny. I've never had to do this before as a husband, but I had to read a story to a bunch of women, and they all had a snowman in front of them, right? They all had a snowman in front of them, and as I read this story, if I said the word right or left, even in the name of a story, even if it wasn't in the context of moving right or left, like if I said write something down as I read this story, they would have to move these snowmen around the table, and they were just having like such a fun time. I actually started just throwing words in that weren't even in the story just to watch them move around their stupid little snowmen, but it was funny. They had a good time with it. So, I mean, it wasn't that bad. I just was up here working on something for work. I just got off. In fact, I started this stream here right as I got off of work tonight. So me and the guys are working on these systems in a government location, and we're like hanging out, and we get on about 8 in the morning for me here. Excuse me. and then I get back, and then I basically work most of the day on the systems, and then we hop on a few times throughout the day just to make sure nobody's stuck on anything. Oh, nice, Morrison. You're trying to dip into the CIS world. Just graduated with CIS degree. School. Yeah, school's never going to end. You're going to have to keep going to school the rest of your career, Morrison. That's just kind of the way that goes. I mean, we're in this field where things are constantly changing. One of the things that does kind of stay similar or the same, well, maybe not similar or the same, but one thing that doesn't change as much is like the command line stuff. So, you know, if you know your bash, your C shell, and your K shell, you're probably gonna just C shell is the letter C and then the word shell. If you know those languages, and you can maneuver around in them, those haven't changed much in quite a while. Yeah, sending. I'd agree with that for sure. Debian packages, I don't know. So anyways, what we were doing for people that got here a little later, we just hopped over onto DICE, and we just looked up Linux and knock, and we found this knock incident analyst, and I'm just kind of, I copied everything out of here. So there's an actual job that exists out there in the world, presumably, and we just started going through some of the ways to get information, and we started looking at these different things that were kind of related to over here on the right. We were looking at performing problem analysis and system monitoring, you know, what's an incident, and if you need to learn these things better, right, so if we were to say how to learn this stuff better, you can go and study ITIL. ITIL is a great framework for learning incident management. How's it going, Johnny, man? We're just hanging out, not working too hard. The wife's actually downstairs with some of her friends and I just got off of a work call a little while ago. It's actually funny. Me and the guys will be joking around about how much we're working, and the boss is in some of these calls with us, and he's like, "You just worked 12 hours? That sounds like a half day to me." We're like, "Ah, damn it, boss." But he's pretty good. He works. He's down in the trenches with us. He works. He's the chief technology officer of our company, but he's still down in the trenches working on the stuff. So he's pretty down to earth. Plus, he was a Navy guy, so we don't give him too much of a hard time. A few of the guys on the team are Navy. There's only a few of us that were Army. So, all right. So this one says perform OS and hardware maintenance. So what do we do on? So there's a question over on YouTube. There's a couple questions. Sandeep said, "Can you suggest the good materials to study ITIL?" I took an ITIL course years ago for ITIL 3. I don't know who's good out there right now. I got a buddy I'm trying to get to come talk to our group about ITIL a little bit and what he recommends. He's a professional that actually teaches it. But I know there's good resources out there. You just have to look around. I can't recommend any right off, Sandeep. Most of the resources that we have, like in our Discord, I always recommend these certs right here for people, but I don't have ITIL in there. If I go find a good ITIL like study place, I'll put it in here. But these are actual certs right here that you can go get for free. The studying and the cert itself are free. These are in our Discord. Discord is here if people need it. I'll link it over here and over on the YouTube side of things. And then M4600 asked, what about some observability things? I would spend time, if it were me, if you were like, hey Scott, where should you spend time learning this stuff? This is what I would tell you to go spend a little time with. Hold on. Let me see if I can get my damn mouse to work right. Hold on. Damn mouse. Let me open up a... Don't save that. File, open recent. I'm pretty sure it's a drawing. Here's the monitoring stuff that I think I would learn monitoring. Like, god damn it, can't get my hand in the right fucking place on my keyboard. It's because I have my other hand over here. So this is something. This is how my monitoring in my lab works. This is a way to do it. It's not the only way. However, I will tell you this very important piece of advice. The old days of like Nagios, and by the way, I love Nagios. I run it in my home lab. Nagios is kind of the old monolithic model in that you turned on Nagios like you were starting a 1932 Buick, and that thing would chug along and go, and it would start up, and then you would have your monitoring. You would actually have your dashboarding right there. You would have your agents that were going out based on the schedules that you built to go pull all the information and kick off whatever kind of, I forget it, for lack of a better term, jobs everywhere. And that's the old way of doing things, because when I wanted to update Nagios, I had to take the whole thing down. I had to do a Nagios like test config and verify that my new config was good and then move over to my new config, right? Or if I wanted to add or remove servers, there was just a lot to it. Well, the more modern architectures are these modularized things where you've got maybe InfluxDB or Loki or Prometheus. These are the main ones I use in my lab. They're not the only ones out there. I have reasons for why I use these. Prometheus and InfluxDB are both time series databases. We can throw data at them from different agents that we have, which are, again, they are a separate piece and they are interchangeable. The idea of modularity is that you could pull this whole ingest section off and put a whole different ingest section on, or write your own crap and throw it to any of these APIs, because all of these end up basically being an API at some point that you can throw data into. Or Prometheus actually pulls data from the servers, right? That kind of stuff. How's it going, Chillin' Spree? We're just hanging out. We're not working too hard tonight, but I was talking about, I had pulled down a set of requirements from a job, and then I was just kind of answering questions. This was a NOC incident analyst type position that I had found on DICE, and I was just starting to write stuff up about kind of my thoughts on it. And then right now I was answering a question about monitoring architecture, and then just kind of the king of monitoring is Grafana. So to answer your question, I took the long way around to get to answering your question. I would understand Grafana as a monitoring tool. I would understand how Grafana interfaces with different sources, and there's literally, close to 100 sources that Grafana can be an endpoint to. Understand how to build basic monitoring, and if you struggle with basic monitoring, then you come over here and you go to something like SRE, the SRE Google books, which are all free. I'll link these over to you guys. And the SRE Google books will help you start out at looking at what I want to look at, like in observability. So down here, I come down and I go, okay, what the heck? How do we monitor stuff? Alert on conditions that require attention, and then what does a monitoring strategy do? Right? It's fast. It looks at service level objectives in such a way that it alerts when you start to get near the end of not hitting those objectives or whatever. And they talk about what it is and how we monitor data. This is a way to do it. It's not the only way, but it is a globally sound way from people that have worked on big, massively scaled up systems to look at things, right? So anyways, back over here, Grafana is a great end piece. I would for sure know about Prometheus, because I think Prometheus is just such a backbone of, it's just a workhorse, man. It just sits there and it does so much stuff. We use it in our home lab here. If you want to learn Prometheus better, there's some really awesome, this is one of my favorite things right here. If we go look at Prometheus, and then you go look at their, let me see if I can get to just Prom Labs. Hold on, Prom Labs has it. Their PromQL cheat sheet. Let me link this to you guys. Let me show you one of the coolest things you might learn about tonight. Let's say you wanted to learn the PromQL language, and you came in here and go, okay, this is interesting, but this isn't super helpful, Scott. I don't know what node CPU second. I see that you say that I can do this. Well, if you click PromLens right here, this will drop you in, and this is an actual Prometheus instance right here. And I could say, okay, this is what node CPU seconds total shows me out of the time series database of Prometheus. And I go, okay, that's good. Can I see the last 5 minutes? I've maybe looked at the queries before, and yes, I can. And now I got CPU 0 here, CPU 0, CPU 0 on some node with some job name. Here's CPU 0, 0, 0. And I go, well, oh, and here's CPU 1. And I go, wait a minute, hold on. What if I just wanted to see maybe, could I look up in here that same thing, but then I say CPU equals, and we could say something like, or I could say equals exactly, and Prometheus will help us out. It'll say, hey buddy, I see a 0, 1, a 2, and a 3 there. And I say, you know what, just let me know about CPU 3. I gotta close out my little brackets so it looks nice, right? And then if I do that, all the responses that I get are only for CPU 3. And we're not going to get much into it now because we're not doing like the hardcore Linux systems administration. But when we did the Linux systems administration course, we dug in on this, and I was showing you guys wherever our monitoring section was. I don't remember where it was, but I was talking to you guys about how I as a professional in the high performing compute space, I will be right here and I will pin, so the 0 will get pinned. Hey, thanks for that, berries and cream. Hopefully this is useful to you. I appreciate that subscription. Don't have to watch ads, so that's kind of cool. But real quick here, we will pin the 0 to be unusable by like the Slurm job scheduler, right? Well, then I've been using this tool very, very much. There's this kind of big up and coming tool which you guys can go look at if you want. It's called Weka, and here's some information about Weka that's free and out there. I use this a lot in the high performance compute space. In fact, I was just building this out a few minutes ago on that call. I was working with the Weka guys and stuff. But anyways, over here, we're back to our CPUs, right? And I say, okay, you know what? Show me these CPUs that we had. And I'm dealing with systems that have, 256 or sometimes 512 CPU cores in them. But the first one is typically an OS one, and then we pin the next 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 to, we pin those for Weka's use. Weka is going to stand up a container, and it's going to do these super fast UDP connections to shotgun data around the network. That's what it does, right? It's kind of like the same architecture if you care about like how Lustre works. Lustre is OpenSFS, right? You go to OpenSFS and look at Lustre. We're not going to go into Lustre too much. If you guys catch me sometime down in the Discord and want me to go hard on this for you, I will do it. But down here in the Lustre wiki, if you want to see like how Lustre shotguns data very quickly, there's a systems admin guide, and then you can also look at a PDF if you want. But it'll show you the architecture for how it just launches data really quick. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. Yeah, here's the Lustre architecture. And you know, I've been using Lustre for so long. But what it is a parallel file system. When we talk about parallel clustered file systems, it's a system that's very, very fast and very distributed. So you've got all your clients over here, and then you've got your nodes that are accessing. These are called object storage servers here, and these are object storage targets back here, and they can manage and look at stuff really quick. I won't dig in too far on this, but I'll show you real quick. What happens is all your clients down here register in almost like you register at a public library, right? And then you go to the metadata target servers, which can be many, and you say, well, where is this out in the library? And then these metadata targets tell you, okay, well, it's over on this shelf and on this shelf. So now your machine no longer communicates over here anymore. It goes and it gets the data from as many object storage servers as that data are striped across. Now, the reason that's so fast is because this can be InfiniBand here. You can have multiple connections coming out of your clients. You can have multiple channels and connections coming into your object storage servers. You can have multiple redundant backend links out to the object storage targets, which are JBODs, right? Just a bunch of disks. And those just a bunch of disks are carved up into, you know, RAID 8+2. It's RAID 6, sorry, 8+2. So it's RAID 6, 8+2. And it's very fast, very reliable backend storage that really doesn't take any performance hits even on rebuilds, right? Like, these are the kind of things that, like, and you know I'm going a little fast tonight, but the reason I'm doing that is because I want to show you guys, like, there's a lot of stuff here. And if you're listening to me and you're like, I want to get into this, open up a notepad, start writing, right? Like, as we mention things and as I talk about things, go look it up. You can spend a little time on a Google Safari, and then we have Discord where people will try to help you talk about these things and learn more about them. I will certainly give up as much time as I can around running the Linux Systems Administration course that we're running, which again, that's free. We're on Unit 14. We got 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks of me making those things for you guys, right? But anyways, so we'll get out of here. Prometheus has a lot of stuff. Hey, Sid, how's it going? I appreciate the raid. Hopefully you guys were over there integrating circuits and doing all kinds of stuff. I am talking right now about how to get in the industry for people who are trying to do systems administration work, systems engineering work. And what I did was I went and found on DICE, this is going to be a little bright, I went over on DICE and I found this NOC incident analyst from the night shift. Hey guys, sometimes when you're new, sometimes when you're young, you have to do the hard work. You got to do the late stuff. But yeah, Sid, normally I raid you, but I'm on a little later tonight because the wife had friends over. And I ended up, actually, I was working right up until about 9 o'clock tonight. So I got on around, I got up around 4:20 to go to the gym. And then I got to my computer about 7 a.m. And then I started working probably around 8. And then I had a call at 9. So I've been on all day, right? Like, but this is what I do, guys. I tell you guys, I do Linux for fun. They just happen to pay me for it. And then we started breaking down these job duties that these guys wanted us to do, right? Perform problem analysis and system monitoring. What does that look like, right? Yeah, well, when you're salaried. We always joke around with my boss, and then he goes, well, you work 12 hours. That sounds like a half day. It's like, thanks, boss. But he's also one of the owners of the company, so he's a pretty good guy. But anyways, then we broke down into the incidents, and we talked about some of these things, right? So then we were walking through some other stuff. I'm kind of going through some stuff for you guys that are coming in, and I showed you guys the architecture of my home lab. Like, how do I monitor stuff in my home lab, right? Grafana is a great tool. Prometheus is a great tool. Node exporter, Promtail agent to send logs. And what does that net you, right? Like, what do you get if you do this? Well, we have Ranger Cam. What's Ranger doing? Ranger, my dog downstairs. He's not on his beds, probably because there's snacks somewhere. And then I can look at my Prolog user, like my lab servers, right? I can see how my servers are doing. We got a good amount of users on there, so that's good. Lots of users doing stuff. We had 20 users at one time. That's a pretty good amount of users. I need to update some of my stuff over here. I can see how my environment's been going for the last 7 days. I can look over here at logs, right? So I can say logs, and then I want to see the logging. These are all the people in the last, this is the last 6 hours. All the people that have tried to log in and get into my server. Somebody found my server. Look at this. Some bot network found my server and is trying to connect in right now. These ones just popped up right now. But you can't get in on root on my servers. Like, what kind of amateur is that? Root can't ever log in, guys. We don't. That's a security violation. Coming as a user, those aren't real users, so they can't get in. But then you have to escalate your privileges to root, right? And does anybody here know why in the systems world root can't ever? Well, why is it best practice not to allow root to ever log into a system via SSH or anything really? I'm gonna go grab some water while you guys think about that. Somebody find the answer. Somebody tell me why in modern Linux do we not have root ever able to log in? This is always true. If you ever find it, well, that's part of it, Morrison. It does give too much permissions. The bots are always creeping around. That's true. I want you to think about this. Every other password in Linux can be locked, but the root user cannot be locked. If we lock the root user, it would affect the system too much. So in modern Linux, non-trusted Linux, not trusted Solaris or trusted Unix that we used to run. Solaris was a version of Unix that we used to run. We could lock root on those systems, but in modern Linux, we do not lock the root user ever. And since we don't lock the root user, this person right here could bang on this door forever, and they would never stop banging. Now, here's the thing. The door doesn't go anywhere for root, and once you attempt multiple times from an IP address, whatever IP address this is right here, 103.170.86.94, once they try too many times, they get locked out forever, right? They tried to rate limit. They're only doing 1 attempt a minute, roughly. That doesn't look like a bot, though. When you look at this and you say, well, Scott, what are you talking about, like heuristics, and like how does that not look like a bot? Well, it's got a randomized backoff timer, or it's a person. You say, how do you know that? Well, because it's not. Those aren't sequenced. Those aren't like every 30 or every 35 seconds, right? Yeah. So, anyways, all right. So learn your tools. Ranger, how's Ranger doing? Ranger's got his own little tree downstairs, and the lights burned out. You know what? If Sid's still around, I need Sid to come over and work on these lights for me. No, I'm just kidding. We've already changed the fuse. There's like a little fuse on them, and anyway, so this is normally Ranger cam for my dog when Ranger's around, but he's not here. All right, or well, he's not on his bed. I don't know where he is. So the next one we were talking about was server OS and hardware maintenance. So how do you maintain? Like, how the heck do you maintain a server, right? Well, you monitor usage, and you monitor usage of the big four. What are the big four? CPU, memory, disk, and network. Also in that order of speed, by the way. So how the heck do you maintain a server? You monitor usage. You update on a regular schedule. You maybe verify. Maybe you verify logs. Logs have to be sent off a system. Logs always sent off in real time. You always send logs off a system in real time. But maybe you watch for errors or increasing numbers of incident, like warnings. Did you know that like most disks don't just fail? Disks kind of fail over time, and they almost always have more and more error indicators as they go. Here, I'll scroll this down a little bit so you guys can see that better. But your logs should be sent off in real time, and then you should be able to go track those. That monitoring that I was just showing you guys, I actually get all my other system logs off my systems as well. I just happen to have it filtered down to only failed. Yeah, failed, but I was looking in the secure messages for people that have failed. Yeah, this would be, yeah, check. Backups are occurring, right? Make sure your backups are occurring. That's huge. And then hardware maintenance. How does that work, right? Well, hardware maintenance can be verifying all the lights are blinking. And by the way, sometimes we're not in data centers anymore, so we get like IPMI messages, and we get like hardware alerts, right? So we need to be monitoring those. Those should be going. Yeah, fans running. And fans running can also be things like we've got these things called motive air doors in a data center, and they can do things, cooling systems, more and more nowadays. Every system I've built in the last 4 years in the high performance compute are liquid cooled. And liquid cooled they've got their own problems. They've got algae. They've got particles that get in, and they've got these filters, and if the particles hit too many, you've got to shut the whole system down and get them cleaned up. I actually had one, guys. I had one the other day. Well, this was about a month, not a month. This was earlier this year. We added an extension onto one of our environments, right? So we added an extension. Sorry, we made a new water loop, and that water loop, the guys that came in as the contractors, they used the wrong type of tape on the piping, and that tape went above the particulates that the filter could take as a tolerance, like for the first few months of running, and we had to have them pull it all out and redo it with the right tape. He said, with the right tape on the actual piping, yes. Yep. They had to use a different type of tape that was actually rated to, and it was in the original specification, just nobody had caught it. That was a very costly thing for that contractor to have to go back and redo that, you know. So that's a thing that comes up in liquid cooled systems and big data centers. And typically you have a cooling loop, and then you've got like a heat exchange loop too. So you almost always have two loops. Although I never deal with the heat exchange loops because that's typically outside of my purview, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maintenance schedule. You know, and that's different between prod and dev test QA, right? Dev test QA I can almost always do on the off hours. So these bottom ones here, easy. These are, you know, customer downtime always taken into account, right? Oh, I should probably move this up again. Hold on. Prod is going to be customer. Oh, whoops, I'll move this up. Right? So, yeah, your maintenance schedule. What's our maintenance schedule for doing all this? What does that kind of look like? You know, your prod, you got to ensure downtime for the customer. So let's say you've got maybe, you know, do we have load balancers? And those are referred to. Load balancers is the common term that everybody knows. But does anybody know what a load balancer actually is in a system? Like, there's a technical term for what a load balancer is. So you can go look up load balancer and you'll find all the right stuff. But there's a technical term for it. It's a reverse proxy because it's doing something on behalf of the things behind it, as opposed to a forward proxy, which is doing things on behalf of the requester. This is doing something on behalf of the servers behind it, and it's being used to obfuscate what's going on behind in your system, right? So, hey, thanks for the follow. I don't know. My ex. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I'm bad with the names on here, so. All right. Anyways, physical and virtual hardware resource administration, right? This is going to be that same type of stuff. This is going to be monitoring usage, right? You're probably, oh, I didn't even finish up here. With hardware maintenance, verify all lights are blinking, make sure all the fans are running. I would say look for, actually this kind of goes along with, I would maybe put this up here with hardware alerts. A lot of time disks are in the front. Most of the time, not all servers are built the same. And most of the time, networking is in the back, right? You will, the stripe pattern of your disks over time. I can assure you, you will learn the stripe pattern of your disk arrays over time if you watch them. If you like walk in the data center a lot, like if you're early on in your career and you're going into data centers and doing work and this kind of stuff, you're going to see this kind of stuff more and more. Networking tends to be in the back, and it tends to either be green and blinking. That's good. And it can be orange, solid, or it can be off. Bad. Bad, right? Come down here. Yeah, so we just keep going through this stuff. Physical and virtual hardware resource allocation. So physical machines are going to tend to be your bigger, if you're working in a data center, they're going to tend to be your bigger, beefier types of servers. I work in high performance compute, so all of my servers are big physical machines. But if you're working in an organization, like in a company, your physical servers are a lot of times going to be they're going to tend to be your database servers, and they're going to be using a lot of RAM. And then virtual are typically going to be like your web and your app type servers. Now, when I say database, web, and app, those are not the only types of servers that exist in this world, but those are kind of like archetypes, kind of like what's that show everybody liked, Last of Us? You guys ever see Last of Us? What's the major? Anybody ever seen how social media goes on The Last of Us? Somebody goes, "Oh, that was a fun zombie show," and then everybody's like, "It's not a zombie, it's a fungus." And you're like, "Okay, calm down." It is in the archetype of zombie horror, though, because even though they're fast zombies, they are still being zombified by a fungus, and people get really mad. And I'm not here to argue that with people. What I'm saying is most servers can be filtered down to database. And you're like, well, but it's not really a database. It's actually a fast switching cache that's running Redis. And I'm like, yeah, but, yeah, berries and cream. Yeah, the mycologist raging right now. Yeah, and then we start talking about zombie. Anybody ever seen a zombie snail? There are snails that get fungi, and they go up into their eyes. And then they make them like go to the top of plants so that birds can peck out their eyes. It hurts the snails, but it doesn't kill the snails. And then they're actually slugs, I think. And then the birds ingest the fungus, and it actually grows in their abdomens and then gets dropped back off as bird poop. And there's like this whole thing. You can go look up zombie snails or zombie slugs, I think is what it is. And it is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. And anyway, so yeah, so. Last of Us zombie. People get so mad. You can go start a fight online with that. Just find some post of somebody talking about Last of Us and call it a zombie show. All right. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to argue that kind of stuff. What I'm saying is database is like the class. It's like the warrior. And then some warriors dual wield, therefore they're barbarians and have lower armor, right? Or they are a tank, or they're, subclasses. Well, database servers are no different, where, yeah, okay, it's a database server, but some are big Oracle boxes, and some are just little Postgres boxes sitting in the corner as part of like a proof of concept for some tool that you wanted to run. So you had to stand up a little Postgres server or something, right? Virtual tends to be your web servers, because web servers can be smaller and have a much smaller footprint than these other ones. And then app is going to be, whatever your apps are. And apps nowadays, this is so rolled up in Kubernetes, which we call K8s a lot of times. That's so rolled up. And so is web. I mean, Kubernetes is so big. You want to go spend time with that? Best the very best place on the web to learn about that is Killer Coda. If you said, Scott, I got to go learn about Kubernetes right now, and I need to learn about how maybe pods work, and I say, okay, you've never done a single thing with a pod, and you go, nope, but I know that I'm going to have to do some stuff with pods, and I go, okay, well, maybe we come down here and we got to create some pods, and in this case, we're going to do a config map, so we're going to do like something in front of the pods. And this is a free site. You just have to log in. Super easy. It's federated. And I'm going to link this to you guys. And if you were to follow along with me, if you've never done any Kubernetes, well, now you've done some Kubernetes, right? Excuse me. Now this thing says create a couple of config maps. And here's some tips on how to do it. They actually tell you some help, and then down here, if you need the solution, here's the actual solution, right? You just grab both of these, Control C, right click, and whoops, paste, and it'll go and it'll make those for you. Now if I did a kubectl git cm, which are your config maps, I would see these two new config maps, and if I said describe cm trower, I hate tab, it'll describe it for me, and it'll tell me that there's these key value pairs of tree and then trower wide here. Let's see, did it? Yeah, so tree equals that, and it was from a literal, and then there was also this other one which was created from this cm.yaml, which is just the way that you create your config map. So look, created a kind of config map, and then it gave some data, so there's these other levels of data. And if I go and I look at the name, it's Burke, which is like a type of tree or something. And here we go. We see the department is Park, and you tag all this metadata to it if you want or whatever. So, you know, you want to learn some Kubernetes. The goal is right now isn't to show you this. We have whole days that I've spent on doing Kubernetes with you guys, right? And we have a whole bunch of people up in our Discord that are good at Kubernetes and do it professionally. We even have labs and stuff. I've built labs on Kubernetes for you guys. But anyways, you come in here and you start to learn your tools so that when you go into the interview, you can talk intelligently to this. I don't see them saying here that they use Kubernetes, but I'm just going to tell you right now, man, when you go in, people like hearing that you've studied some Kubernetes. And if you can at least go in here for free and learn how to move around a Kubernetes environment, you know, excuse me, and see what's going on in the environment, you can really, you know, give yourself some mileage as far as the studying goes without having to build it all up. Not everybody has a home lab environment. You know, I got this home lab environment that I use for everybody in our Linux group can get in these servers, right? You can go on our Discord and go figure out how to get into these. But these are part of like a bigger set of clusters that I run in my home environment, right? For people that haven't been here, this is what my home environment looks like. I got 3 physical machines, and then they do a whole fair amount of virtualization underneath them, right? I use a tool called XCPNG, which is the fork of Zen Server when it got bought by Oracle, right? It's not a really well-maintained. What I mostly advise people when people are like, hey, Scott, can I build your thing? I go, you know, Proxmox has kind of got a lot more traction. Go the Proxmox route. And that's what a lot of guys in our server, if you ask them, hey, you know, what's your home lab? Or if you go hang out in like home lab, you'll mostly find people talking up here. You know, most of the guys are building out Proxmox stuff, right? You mostly find them building. I think if we just like looked for Proxmox, you would find it all over the place, right? Find it all over in here. You can go look around and find Terraform and all that stuff. Nice Q. I haven't done much professionally with OpenStack. I haven't gotten to mess with it much. I end up working with a lot of, some of you guys that have been around know I work with a lot of big physical machines because they're just the big data, you know, and they've got, I was holding a server the other day. I was telling you guys about this. I was holding a server the other day that I think was about 4U and it had these A100 cards in it. So, right, and it had multiple of these in there. These no, that's an A800. Let's see if they can even find any A100s. They're charging $119 an hour, right? If you were to use them. But what is? Hold on, let's go see if we can find. What's the cost? They got the cost on here? Hold on. They probably don't, because they just charge whatever they want, because they're NVIDIA. But I was working on some of these. It was a Dell project I was on, and then it was on there. Do you use RunPod? Is it pretty good? I wasn't trying to say it wasn't good. I was just saying that wasn't what I necessarily wanted. Anyways, this server that I was holding that was like 4Us, it was about 450 grand for that server. That one 4U server that I was holding in my hands. It was a GPU node for a big cluster for a customer. So we were a subcontractor to Dell, out to a government contractor, and then I was out in actually pretty close to me here. I was out in Chandler, so it was only about a 45-minute drive to me. But anyway, so my point in showing you guys this is there's too much to try to learn, but you can get familiar with the things that, like, Kubernetes is not going anywhere. It is it is going to be there, and if you want to go be a systems administrator, a NOC analyst, and those kind of things, if you mention those things and you know some things about them, you don't have to know everything. You just need to know enough to talk about it. You can add some value and possibly get picked up. So, oh, you used it RunPod for that? I've never even, hold on. I had never even seen this before. So they're just, are they, what the heck are they doing? Without a fuss. They're dropping prices, so that's good. Okay, that was terrible. Interesting. Yeah, I like that. I think that's interesting. I had not heard of this or used this. I'm gonna go drop this in our Discord under the maybe in the AIML. One of our mods the other day, he alphabetized everything, so now it moved all our stuff around. So if you're used to our Discord, or anybody that's been around, it all got moved around the other day. And he said, "Oh, I didn't know that it affected everybody." And I think he did, but he doesn't care. That's fine. Let's see, spin up a GPU pod in seconds. Okay. I actually am slightly interested in this for a project I'm working on myself. I don't need too much. I'm just going to be running an LLM. Oh, yeah, and they can be as low as that. That's not bad at all. Because I've got a project that I want to run in the lab here. When we're streaming, I want to pull up this. Oh, where's that? Ah, there's Ranger over there on his bed. There's the wife too. Huh. But they're downstairs. Where is? Hold on. Let's go look at logs real quick. I want to pull up. So in our logs, we can switch this over to dungeons. And in dungeons, it's not dungeons. It's dungeon. Right. And dungeon will pull up some data here in a little bit. And should pull up data, I hope. Have to go look at that. I might have something not pulling, or there's no data. Hold on, it's very possible there's no data. Oh, it's red 3. Hold on. Right? And I can just throw stuff up here, and every 10 seconds when this refreshes over here, you're seeing my output from over here. But what I'm going to do, there's a spike in my dashboard? Yeah, probably. Yeah, there was actually a lot of users on this last weekend, I think. We're in the last 2 weeks of our professional Linux users group Linux systems administration course. So I've been running this course for everybody. It's free, and it's all down here. It's all down in the Prolog projects. But you guys can go in there and you can. It's systems administration stuff, start to finish. CP, hold on. I didn't see your first question. Hold on. Sorry. So how do I check spikes? This is the last 7 days right here of my home lab. This is the last 7 days. Make that a little bigger. This is the last 7 days. I can zoom in on anything, but I can see all my servers spiking. That spike happens at 3:14 a.m. all the way over to, I think we can zoom in, right? Like, let's say I just want to see the last 24 hours, and the data it'll zoom in, and I can see that it goes over to about 8 a.m. So some 3 something in the morning to 8 a.m. And this spike is when I run my antivirus. And then here's my memory usage. See my memory usage go up. We can see all the users that were in my system. Somebody had 20 users in my system, which is fine. And then we drop back down to only 8. There's valid reasons for that in the lab. And this is users hopping in because everybody comes in through my Bastion node, right? And that's how I can keep track of number of users coming in. I have other ways to monitor things that are happening in the environment. Like I can come over here and I can just go to like secure. I can look at all the environment, right? I can look at just the jump node. I can look at, hold on. So if I wanted just, what's the Rocky, right? If I wanted just the Rocky nodes, so I just wanted to see what was going on. Somebody was in here working on Rocky 10. Somebody was adding Telegraph to the environment, which is fine. There's no, guys, you guys can use this stuff for pretty much whatever you need to do. Looks like we had a lot of disconnects throughout the morning. Actually, some of this is a little bit older. And this is just secure, by the way. This isn't even messages, right? We can go to messages, and we can go see what kind of messages are going on in my environment. Looks like people were installing some stuff, which is good. Because I want you guys using those labs, right? And then when you're done with the labs, you just reboot them, and they go back to a clean image. That's all I do. That's how I run all that stuff. So, anyways, yeah, this is so I can go look at my dashboard. I can see how much usage of my server's local space and then my network storage, how well my network storage is doing. Hostbox is up to 92.1. Hostbox is a fun little server in my environment. Some of you guys have seen this before. Hostbox sits there as 2 things. If I do an export, we'll just do a show mount -e, and then if we do a test parm, those are 2 things. Show mount -e is going to go and do our NFS, right? So our NFS mounts out on the system, and I have ISOs and ROMs and data and Ranger. So a bunch of stuff that's happening in my environment. And then I have Samba, and Samba connects back to Windows machines, right? So I can come up right here, and I can just go look right on data. I can go look at any of those. I can go to data, and I can just pull up a bunch of mostly my jiu-jitsu videos that I have out there. But I can go look at camera as well, and I can look at tonight on Ranger Cam. I can see a picture of like what Ranger was doing earlier, right? I want to really monitor my dog and be a creeper. I can see exactly when he was moving around down there, right? Maybe I'll do, and actually, when people follow me, there's a little thing of Ranger that pops up, and I actually took that from one of these from Ranger Cam. So if I want to go watch Ranger move around, look, there's a lot of movement. If I want to go watch him move around with like an MP4, I can actually pull this up. Oh, it's going to kill my music. Well, so here's, there it is. Come on, what the fuck? There's Ranger moving around downstairs earlier. Good old Ranger dog, walking around. I don't use WSL or run. I don't run any WSL. No, I have a full Linux environment that is completely air gapped off of my production machine. Like I have a machine that I have too many tools, like corporate and enterprise type tools and that kind of stuff. So I just do everything off my Linux environment here. But anyways, I want to show you guys that there's Ranger there. So yeah, Ranger's a good boy. We like Ranger, and those are all just fed out of this other. Where's this Ranger cam? See, that's Ranger real time. That's real time, my time right there. Oh, 10:20. I gotta get to bed. But I think I can see the wife down there doing dishes too. Yep, there. I see her moving around down there. So all right, guys. I just realized too. It's 10:20. I gotta get to sleep. But let's we'll focus on. I will be around this week. We will keep working on stuff. On Saturday, our group meets. You guys are welcome to come hang out on a Saturday and talk shop with everybody. Q, you're going to be working on stuff later. Good. Yeah, Ranger's good dog. Ranger's a real good dog, guys. And then CS, make sure you're working on your RHCSA. That's a good one. We got some good engineers that are have gotten those. So if you need help with that, make sure you let everybody know. All right, let's go find somebody to raid on the Twitch side. Maybe somebody's doing something interesting right now. Who are we following that is doing stuff? I'm not following anybody, but maybe somebody in the same channel as us. I don't have anybody I know up. So, who is this? Yeah, we'll go over here. So hopefully this stuff's... Hold on. I don't follow this person, but it looks like they're doing Linux. So we're going to go over there. All right. I will talk to some of you guys later on this week. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. And you're always welcome to come hang out down Discord if you want to do that kind of stuff. All right. I will talk to you guys later. Take care.